All right, thanks a lot. Welcome again to the webinar. My name is Darren Watson. I'm the Commercial Director for the insurance industry. I can see a lot of people have logged on that joined us last month for the motor insurance webinar, so that's great to see. We'll be following a similar path to a month ago with motor. For home, again, it'll be run by Karen Bainon, who is our Principal Client Advisor for the insurance industry. But just quickly before I hand over to Karen, as a reminder to those that joined us last time and for the first timers, to give you an understanding, the insights come from our syndicated program where we measure both the digital sales effectiveness as well as the digital marketing effectiveness of brands within the home insurance industry. For those of you that are listening today that aren't represented in the digital sales effectiveness, no problems there. We can actually get you added. So, yeah, if you don't see yourself in the DSE results, we can certainly have you added for future research. But I won't take up any more of Karen's time. So over to you, Karen.
Thanks very much, Darren, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules today to join us for our webinar. So today, as Darren said, we are looking at home insurance, and the theme that we've got today is 5 ways to win more customers online. Now, before I get started, I just thought I should let you know that the things that we'll go through today may not necessarily be new ideas or new concepts. You've probably looked at them before. But what we will give you is we'll give you a different way of looking at these ideas and concepts based on what customers have done when they're looking for home insurance. So it gives you a different lens, I suppose, a different view. And I hope what you'll get out of this at the end of this session is, you know, a new point of view, and potentially it might change the things that you're doing in the implementation that you already have, or change the priorities of development so that you can look at fine-tuning these ideas that we have today. So the agenda that we've got for the next half hour, I'll briefly go over who we are, for those of you who are not familiar with Global Reviews. I'll also briefly touch on the research methodology so you can understand how we came about getting this data. Then we'll have a look at the overall results for the home insurance industry, so the overall leaderboard table. And then the majority of the time for today we'll spend looking at insights and opportunities that we've found as a result of these studies, and along the lines of the things 5 ways to win more customers online. And then hopefully at the end of the session we'll have some time for questions. But look, if we don't get to your question, please feel free to get in touch afterwards, and we can seek to answer those questions for you. So about Global Reviews. Global Reviews is a digital consumer analytics and competitor intelligence provider. So as Darren said, we run syndicated research programs across a number of different research methods, and we aim to provide our clients that subscribe to us with data and competitor intelligence that fall out of those 2 research methods. And you'll see some of that today. We operate across the Australia, New Zealand, UK, Ireland and European markets. And that really gives us a great global perspective. So we're able to see best practice examples of performance globally. Founded in 2000, so into our 15th year of operation, which gives us great historical views and trends and those types of things. And some of the companies that we work with you can see below, and you'll notice that they're across a number of different industries. So not just the insurance industry, we've got banking and travel and telcos, superannuation, a whole host of different industries that we work on, which again allows us to learn best practice from other industries and apply them to our own. So just briefly looking at our research methodology for today, Global Reviews takes a journey-based approach to measuring the customer experience, and we break this into 5 different phases. So the phases we have are discover, consider, act, receive and relate. And for today's session, we're really going to focus on that beginning 2 phases here, so discover and consider. So let's talk about those a little bit more. In the discover phase, what we're looking at here is essentially if the customer was to wake up one day and decide today's the day they're going to get home insurance, how easily can they find your brand and how strong is the attraction to your brand? So we might look at things like brands that they can recall before they undertake their journey to find home insurance. We might look at if they use search, what search words they type in, all those types of things about how they actually find your brand. Once they've been attracted to your brand and they're willing to go on and see what you have to offer, they move into the consider phase. And in this phase, we're looking at how effectively do you engage customers and help them to match a product or service to their needs. So this is really when they arrive at your website. How well does, for example, your homepage engage them and show that you have the products and uses for their needs? Things like the quote tool we look at in this area, comparison tables, etc. So these are our two research products that we look at, the marketing effectiveness, which we call the DME, and also the sales effectiveness, which we call the DSE. Look at both of these two different phases, and we'll be showing you research from both of those products as we go through. So let's have a look now at the research inputs to each of those two areas of work, the DSE and the DME. We've shown them in the grey boxes there, and you can see there's some similar inputs, and I'll talk through those now. So the first we have is customer behaviour, and for customer behaviour we're really looking at typical tasks that users undertake to find home insurance. So we recruit around 200 participants for the DME to go ahead and find home insurance. We call this an open study, and by that what I mean is when we send them off to complete a task, we don't start them on any website. We let them go from a blank screen and navigate to whatever website they need to be able to find their product. For the DSE, customer behaviour is what we call a closed study, and that's where we break the sample up into smaller groups, and we send each of those groups to separate websites to complete typical tasks. And the reason we're doing that is because it gives us insight into comparing the usability, satisfaction, and all the different measures on each of the different websites. The next input we have is customer attitude, and these are essentially survey type questions. We ask questions both before tasks are completed and after tasks are completed, and we do that because we like to understand the mindset and the expectations before users undertake the task, and then after they've completed the task to find home insurance we want to find out how they went. So were those expectations met or not, and what did they think of the overall experience along with brands that they preferred. The next element that feeds into the DSE is a customer audit, and what we're doing here is we're breaking down and isolating different parts of websites and showing them to customers and asking them for their opinions. So we'll put things like the homepage, comparison tables, those types of things in front of our customers, and we'll ask them for a series of questions about that to really understand what they think of those. Is it useful to their needs? Does it look like it's appealing? Those types of things. And lastly, the best practice audit feeds into the DSE as well. This is essentially a checklist that Global Reviews has developed over the last 15 years we've been in operation. It's based on almost what you need to have to offer a good customer experience. So it's a features and functions checklist essentially. So they're the overall research inputs. I don't want this to turn into a methodology session, so we'll move on now. I will kind of elaborate a little bit more on some methodology as we look at some of the findings. But certainly if you've got questions on this, get in touch afterwards and we can talk through more of the methodology with you. So let's have a look now at the home insurance industry results, so the overall scores and results for your industry. And this is from research done in Q1 2015, so in mid to late January. And what I've got here is a table that shows a combination of scores for both of these two research products, the DSE and the DME. DSE in the blue. Now the DSE is a score between 0 and 100, and the DME is in the red. Basically when we ask for the final preferred brand for the DME, shown in the red there, it's asking customers after they've gone out and had a look for home insurance, which of the brands did they finally prefer. And so that essentially is a score from 0 to 100 distributed across all the brands there. So what we can see based on those results is Allianz is topping the table, so a good strong performance in the DSE and also a good performance in DME. AAMI follows with a stronger performance in the final preferred brand, that red bar there, and those two are really kind of topping the table away from the other brands there. So next we have APO Coles, NRMA, all the way down to QBE there. And as Darren said, there are a lot more brands that we look at for the digital marketing effectiveness. I've just shown the top ones here. So if you don't see your brand, please feel free to get in touch and we'll get your scores across to you. We're available. So this kind of gives you an overall score. I guess what we always talk about at Global Reviews is this is just a high-level overview. The devil's really in the detail, if you like. So we can look at different categories and areas within this these overall scores to really learn where your brand is performing quite well and areas that could do with some improvement. And we're going to just pull out some examples across a number of different brands from this point on as we look at areas to win more customers online. So let's have a look at some opportunities for 5 ways to win more customers online, starting with that discover phase that I spoke about earlier. This chart really goes a long way to describing some of the rationale for the digital marketing effectiveness study that we do. So it's basically showing all of the different phases and almost like a funnel, if you like. So firstly, before the user starts the task, we ask them what brands can they recall. And I've shown that in the blue bar in the chart below above each of the brands. Then of those brands that are recalled, we ask the customer which would they initially prefer before they even begin their task, and that's shown in the red. Then from this point on, they go off and complete a task to try and find a home insurance product for their needs. After they've done that, we bring them back and we ask them, based on the experience that you just had, what brands would you shortlist? So we allow them to add a number of brands to their shortlist. And then that's shown in the green below. And then we ask them, of that shortlist, who would you say is your final preference? So your one preference out of all of the brands. And that's shown in the purple there. And so as you look at the results for this slide, you can see there's a number of different patterns that are occurring. And the most common one here is well shown by Amy and Allianz there. And what we have is we have a significant drop from initial recall and also, more importantly, a drop from the shortlist to the final preference here. And that's seen across other brands as well, NRMA, RACV, but to a lesser extent, I suppose. The one brand that's kind of changing this pattern or showing a different pattern is Budget Direct, and this becomes an opportunity really. So they're actually gaining more shortlist preferences after a very low initial recall. So again, if we remember the task, what this basically means is not many people are recalling them, hardly anyone's initially preferencing them, but something's happening in the task so that when they come back they're getting a heck of a lot more additions to the shortlist. So what we're going to do is we'll have a look at what Budget Direct is doing in one instance and look at this opportunity. So before we do that, let's just have a look at the overall most common pathways to a decision that users take. What we've got here is a click map that shows all 202 participants of this study and the 5% plus click stream of each of the groupings. It's across domains, so it's not pages, it's the domains they visited along their way. And again, we can see a kind of clear pattern going on here, and that's shown by a significant amount of use of search engines. And we noted that 92% of people used a search engine at some stage during the task when they were looking for home insurance. Almost just over a third say that they use search engines to quickly compare options. So they're kind of using search as a pseudo-comparison agent, really. And you can see that in the way the click path works, in that most start with a search engine, then they sort of fan out and have a look at a number of different sites, and then they constrict back into the search engine, fan out again, and you see this kind of open and closed journey happening across all the pathways. We've just shown you a snapshot here. So basically the outtake is search. Search is critical to this task. So let's see what Budget Direct are doing in search. And we're able to capture the search terms that customers entered while they were looking for their home insurance product. And when we isolate this by website, and in this case Budget Direct, we're able to see that they perform quite well in top-line generic terms, so Home Insurance Australia, their own brand. But this is where it gets a bit interesting. They actually perform really well off competitor brand terms. In fact, they're winning more traffic from competitor brand searches than their own brand if you were to add those all up. And this is quite unique compared to all of the other brands we looked at. So what we did from here is we wanted to see what was going on. We went and replicated some of the searches that we captured, and it leads us to our first opportunity. I know that search is quite dynamic and there's different creatives that are shown in different areas. What we do is we do a number of different searches and we look for patterns, and then we draw hypotheses from that. So the aim is to take these findings, combine that with all of your AdWords kind of mass data that you have, and to trial and test some new techniques. So just going through some more research that we have here, over half shortlisted Budget Direct because they saw them in the search results. So something great is happening with Budget Direct. Let's have a look at this one example. I guess the first thing when it comes to a competitor creative here is the 35% discount and the saving hundreds is more attractive to some users than this $3 a day that NRMA promote. And I suppose the first thing that that is a challenge with that $3 a day is you're forcing the users to do the maths straight up. So $3 a day, what does that work out to be yearly? Because that's how most people pay. They don't pay daily. So automatically, you know, the user's putting their thinking cap on trying to figure out what this offering is, whereas Budget Direct is much clearer and more compelling, and they're in that competitive position here. So that speaks really well to the customer. Another minor thing, the helpline potentially could sound more customer focused than just 24/7 claims. The NR made better might be considered internal marketing jargon, and we kind of question the use of taking up this valuable ad real estate. I mean, when NRMA put their hats on of competing with Budget Direct here, potentially other influential messages could be used. So the longevity of the company, the trust with the company, a trusted brand, all of those types of things might go a long way in this type of real estate to kind of tempt people away from an alternative ad. And the other thing Budget Direct do quite well is they promote more research messages at this point that are designed to beat competitors. So they fully understand that they are in a competitive position, and they've allowed people to deep dive into policy benefits and comparing prices. So it really matches that competitive position they're in. So lots of things to trial and test from this opportunity. Now that's all we're going to look at for the Discover phase. The next 4 opportunities are on the Consider phase, but tons more we could have looked at in Discover if you're interested after this. So let's step into the user mindset, and what we learn is most people actually want to learn about options before getting a quote. And we know this because we ask the question, when researching online, when do customers prefer to receive a quote? 43% go straight to the quote and then choose cover, and 57% want to read about cover options first and then get a quote. So what's really interesting about this is it's actually, for those of you that attended the car insurance and remember this same stat, it's the reverse for car insurance. So for car insurance, 60% want to get straight to the quote and 40% want to read about cover options first. So the key thing here is, you know, a website is not one size fits all. We have to pick up on customer needs and wants for finding products and feedback ways of them using that particular way that they want to find and research products. So let's just keep in mind, you know, the 60%, 40% figure here, so 60% want to read about cover options first. The other thing I want to mention here is you may not see this type of behaviour in your own statistics in your website. And I think this is another reason why this type of research is so important, because users actually want to read about cover options first, but potentially they're not finding the way to do that on your website. So they end up going into the quote trying to find out about the cover that way. So let's have a look with that in mind about some next opportunities here. So for that reason, I've focused on matching products to needs. This is a typical chart from within our DSE, our Digital Sales Effectiveness benchmark, and just some sample data here. It's basically showing the results from one of the tasks we gave users, which was to match products to a few specific needs. And the example that I can use to explain this is, it might be, say you need home insurance and you want to have your engagement ring covered for a travelling item, and you might want cover for a lock replacement up to a couple of $1,000 or something like that. So typical kind of needs that people have in their head when they're seeking out this product. What we've got in the chart here is, I'm just going to focus on the effectiveness and the efficiency of matching needs. Effectiveness is how well people can complete the task, so how accurately do they find the right product. Efficiency is how quickly they're able to do so. And what we see in these results, you know, an average kind of score around 50% there for effectiveness, it's one of the poorest performing tasks that we have. And this is very common across a lot of our benchmarks. A lot of industries have this same problem. And I guess it's also backed up by this other area that we look at. This is the audit criteria for matching needs content. So there isn't a lot of matching needs content across the industry. It's quite severely lacking when we compare to others. So I guess it's no surprise that people aren't finding it easy to match the needs. So an example of this we've got here is from GIO. We have a click map, and the areas in red show the areas where users click the most, yellow next most common areas, and green the least most common areas where they clicked. And what we can see is a lot of insurers do this. They don't actually provide an easy way to match products to needs. So the key differentiators for this product are kind of buried within these repeated sentences that I'm just pointing out here. So rather than, it's not aligned side by side, so it makes comparison really difficult. Users are forced to kind of read through each paragraph and try and find out what is different about each one before they go ahead. And what happened is, you know, this ability to compare side by side, which is shown right below the products, was often overlooked. You can see there's hardly anyone clicking on that, which would have been an easy way to kind of isolate differences potentially. Some customer voice that backs this up. This is a comment from one of our customers that completed this task. no clear indication of where to look to find details for inclusions or a policy or any kind of information, just brief information. So customers are really struggling to find and match needs. So there's a way we can get around this, and I've had to go to another industry for our next opportunity because I can't find a good one in home insurance, which means it's a great opportunity for you guys to kind of beat the competitors and jump ahead of the pack. It's offering a clear pathway to products using my needs. And this one really caught my eye in the health insurance industry. I thought, really, a quote in 10 seconds? Health insurance is so complicated and you normally think that you have to invest a lot more time, so I wanted to know how they do this. And what they do is essentially at health.com.au they put up a sentence in front of users and it actually isolates the difference between the products that they have to offer. So what this allows them to do by asking just, a quick sentence, they can show a needs-based journey to the product. So rather than, putting all 10 products or all 3 products in front of users and the whole box and dice, they find out what's important first. So the more needs that are identified up front, the more the information can be tailored to focus on what matters. So this is gold. You completely understand your user and what their priorities are, and you can tailor everything from this point on, as far as you want to go, really, messaging, branding, all those types of things. So look, for home insurance, an example here, a sentence might read, I am a homeowner and I want to cover my home and contents, I want the best cover and I want to cover specific valuable items. Now, I'm not a copywriter, so you don't copy the sentence there necessarily, but the bolded terms there are designed to be some of the differentiators that we've noticed in the home insurance product set. So if we just run a quick scenario of a different kind, it might say, I am a renter and I want to cover my contents. I want the cheapest cover and I don't want to cover specific valuable items. And you can see just those 2 scenarios really helps the user to find products that suit their need rather than going through the navigation path or through the quote path trying to find a product that way. So that's our second opportunity. The next area I'm going to have a look at is the task that focused on just getting a quote direct. So this isn't about matching needs. This is a task that said obtain a quote for home and contents. So this is sitting that 40% group that want to get a quote first. And when we have a look at NRMA, we can see from this chart here that they really struggled to successfully get a quote. So NRMA are in the blue dot and the top performer is in that white dot there. And the success rate of getting a quote is around 50% for NRMA compared to, close to 90 odd for the top performer. Time to task, so they took an extra couple of minutes. And unique page views, they're off the chart. So they took more than 12 pages, whereas the top performer took less than 3 on average. Satisfaction also low as a result. So basically we can see there's some struggling going on here. Let's have a look at what happened. So basically it comes down to, at a very high level, customers thought the process was far too long. And when we have a look at the introduction here of the quote, we thought, yikes, 10 steps to get a quote. That's significantly more than other websites. The other thing that they do is they use kind of these icons and unusual, what we call unusual data entry fields. It kind of adds unnecessary clutter and requires more effort. So this is something you want to test thoroughly. Anytime you break away from the standard, users have to stop and think about what you're requiring them to do. I mean, you can't, for example, enter in one via the keyboard for family room. You have to actually, or for games room, sunrooms, you have to press the plus button. So immediately, you're adding more effort there. And when you multiply that effort across the whole 10-page journey, you can see that there's a long process involved. And a user voice speaks to this. Too long, too confusing, it all takes too long to read everything. There's a bit of frustration going on. So 50% actually thought the process was longer than expected. Let's have a look at an opportunity to get around this. So our opportunity today is quotes must look quick and be easy to complete, 2 key elements here. And we'll have a look at the top performer in this area, which was Allianz. Only 10%, so in contrast to 50% previously, only 10% thought the process had more questions than expected. That's the lowest across the whole industry. So let's start to dissect what our Allianz are doing and what's working. They have a clear clickable progress indicator, and I know a lot of brands have this. What a lot of brands are missing is this reinforcement through the title of step 1. So, you kind of get a clear expectation of where you are in the journey and what's to follow. They also have standard data entry methods, so text boxes, radio buttons, drop-downs, things that require no learning to complete for most of the users that would hit the website. What's interesting here is that Budget Direct, Coles and Real Insurance actually completed the quote faster than Allianz customers, but all customers that went to that website actually thought the process had more questions and took longer than what they expected. So what this is kind of showing us is Allianz, by using this kind of honest approach, I suppose, of putting down the 3 steps, they're actually managing expectations more effectively than some of the other players. So this is definitely one to take away and to test and measure beyond this particular snapshot here. But we really start to question the hide, show and the collapsible questions. So for example, as you probably know, when you go to Budget Direct, you might answer one question and then 5 other questions pop below it. So you're completely moving the goalpost all the time to the finish line. That's something that I think needs a lot of exploration, but it's just about finding that right balance to make it look quick and be easy, and that's our opportunity number 3. So I'll pick up the pace a bit just to get through our next few opportunities, so I'm wary of time. So let's again step into the customer mindset, and we asked them when looking for a new home insurance. Most people said that they will spend 1 to 2 hours over 2 to 3 days getting 3 quotes. Now that's probably pretty much common knowledge, but I really put this in front of you because we have to step into this mindset and behaviour. So we need to understand that our quote is completely understood and as competitive as possible, because customers are likely to leave your website. They're likely to go. It doesn't matter how good your quote is, doesn't matter how good your website is, they're telling us they're going to get 3 quotes, so they're going to leave. So opportunity number 4 is to not forget to explain to why customers should choose your brand. And let's have a look at Budget Direct and what they're doing. So after completing a quote, only the price and discounts are really kind of offered as some of the key reasons to choose this brand. I think more influential messages could be reinforced at this moment of truth. The reason being, if they happen to find a cheaper quote somewhere else, well, that's the only differentiator at this point, potentially. So things that they might want to put in, and when we have a look at the email that's sent to a prospect who has completed a quote, we can see that we have great messages. So things about awards, a competition, chance to win 20 grand, Simply Smarter products, so that, you know, the key reasons why you choose this product, great messages. We're saying that you should remind customers on that key moment of truth on the quote result page before they head off to compare with others. Opportunity 4. The last thing we want to look at is another example from NRMA, and this is not to be overlooked. I think a lot of home insurers can improve in this area, and it's so important. Returning customers struggle to find where to buy. So we ask customers to come back and to buy the product, and what we notice is there's no option to apply, buy or retrieve a quote on the home insurance landing page. And some customer voice to back this up. I couldn't find a button that states purchase home insurance. I had to enter all the details again in the quote. It has taken way too long. So a fair bit of frustration. 41% said it was difficult to know where to start to apply online. Big problem. You've got the customer wanting to buy. You do not want to put any hurdles in front of them. So our last opportunity is to make it easy for customers to return to buy. Again, remembering they're likely to leave. They're going to get more quotes. So let's make it easy for them to return. So this is an example from the UK. It's a car insurance example, but it really speaks well to the point here. So it recognises I've completed a quote previously at more than, and then when I return the next day, it recognises that I'm a return visitor, and it really, you know, focuses the message on quote retrieval. So front and centre, glad to have you back, retrieve your quote, and everything else is stripped away. So quite a dramatic way of doing that. They've got an ability to retrieve your quote by reference number, but if you've forgotten that, because we're busy people, we don't write everything down, there's a way you can retrieve by entering in your details there. So a fantastic example of making it really easy to return to buy. And that's the last opportunity that we have today for Discover, Consider and Act. Let's just quickly summarise those up. So firstly, making your search ads more convincing than competitors, so never forgetting to have a look at your ad in context in the search results page. That's how your users are seeing them. Step out of AdWords, don't forget to do that so you can see how competitive your ad is. Offer clear pathways to products using my needs. Quotes must look quick and be easy to complete. Explain why customers should choose your brand, and not just where we mentioned at the moment of truth on the quote result page. I mean, we should do that throughout the entire journey. And lastly, making it easy for customers to return to buy. So making sure that we don't stop them at the final hurdle there when they actually want to buy from us after they return. So much more to see as always, but we're out of time. So, look, I just thought I'd quickly cover off what you've seen today versus being a subscribing client. So today you've just had a very, very quick, high-level general industry overview. It's just a glimpse into the depth and breadth of the insight we can provide. Subscribing clients actually get full research, tailored analysis, looking at their actual development pipeline and what they're working on, and filtering insights into that. There's access to historical data, the portal access, insight activation workshops. I won't read through everything here, but lots of different opportunities to get more research from us. So look, I'll hand back to Darren now, who will close off our session for today.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I just had one quick question that had come through, which was how quickly would we receive the data each time it's run? And generally, into the online portal, you'll receive the data within about 3 or 4 weeks. And then Karen would actually come and make her recommendations and show you the analysis, probably about 6 to 8 weeks after the analysis has been run. So that's an answer to one of the questions that came through. So yeah, thanks for your time again. Hopefully you've got, similar to the motor insurance one, you got some good insights out of it and a better understanding of how we could help. If you'd like to know more information around the 2015 program, my details are there, 9982 3412, or mobile and email there as well. But unlike the motor insurance, where the digital marketing effectiveness goes every month, we go quarterly for home insurance, but certainly two digital sales effectiveness per year, with the next one in July, and the next digital marketing effectiveness is in April. So yeah, hopefully you've got a lot out of it, and yeah, feel free to contact me. We will send around a copy of the webinar recording for you later in the week. So thanks again, and goodbye.